I'm Victoria and this is What Victoria Read. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm doing the 20 questions book tag. It would really help if I could spit out the name of the tag. I saw Jessie from Bow Ties and Books do this literally months ago, like it might be over a year since I saw them do it, and I thought the questions were really interesting. I'll put their version plus obviously the original creator, their original version in the description of the video. Please go and check them out and support them. I will also put the questions in so you can do it if you want to. But yeah, I saw Jessie do this video and thought the questions were really interesting, and I thought I would put it on my filming list. And yeah, I think it's like maybe 9 or 10 months later I'm sitting down to film it. There we go, got there in the end. So it wasn't officially tagged, just saw it, thought it looked fun. Obviously it's got 20 questions in it. Let's get on with it. As always, when I do a tag, I've got my computer screen up here just out of shot so I can see the questions, because there is absolutely no way that I will remember all of these, and I film in one take. So this is how we make it work. Okay, question 1. How many books is too many books in a series? So I feel like this is a really good question because I think it depends on how much you're enjoying the series. I'm not a big series reader. I read quite a lot of trilogies, although I know that Nevermore is not a trilogy. It's going to be a longer series, but at the moment there are 3, so it's on my trilogy shelf. Oh, and for those of you that are asking, Danny Brown is upstairs because it's in my reread stack for the year. Oh, here comes Molly to interrupt filming. Hello. Come and say hello. Hi. You've been allowed outside. She's been going and having adventures. Off she goes. She's going to go and make noise over there. So I read quite a few trilogies, but longer series, I'm not a big series reader. I have read the complete Matthew Shardlick series, which has got 2, 4, 6, 7 books in it at the moment, but it's also not entirely finished, although we don't know if we're going to get another book or not. And I thoroughly enjoyed that series. So I feel like if you're into the series and enjoying the characters, it probably can't be too long. But as somebody who doesn't read a lot of series, I would say maybe 3 books is probably enough most of the time, but that's only in my experience. Okay, question 2. How do you feel about cliffhangers? I love a cliffhanger as long as it's not right at the end of the book. This probably sounds weird. I love a good cliffhanger like at the end of a chapter, or where you've got like a 3rd act twist, all of that kind of stuff, because that keeps you hooked and keeps you reading. What annoys me is if there is a cliffhanger at the end of a book, because then it feels like it's forcing you to read the next book, and that's just not the kind of emotional... She's just going to run around and cause havoc during this video, I can already tell. It feels like kind of emotional manipulation to force you into reading the next book, which I don't enjoy as a reader. So yeah, cliffhangers, yes, but not at the very end of books. It's just annoying. Okay, question 3, excuse me. Hardcover or paperback? So you can see a load of paperbacks behind me, apart from my beautiful Mina Lima collection down here, which is hardback. I personally prefer hardbacks as a reader when I'm physically reading a book. I love the experience of a hardback. I prefer the weight of them. I prefer the way they look on my shelves. I've got a hardback shelf up here, and I think when this video goes up, my bookshelf tour will be up, so I will leave that in the description if it's ready. I prefer the way they look on my shelves. I crack spines, and you can't really tell too much from this shot, but like these books, these spines are cracked and they don't look as good as they would if they were hardback, because you can't see it on a hardback if I crack a spine. So yeah, I personally prefer hardbacks. Obviously they are far more expensive, but for the aesthetic, I prefer them. And also the reading experience. I just prefer... People complain about the weight of hardbacks, but actually that's one of the things I like about the weight of a book in my hands. And so yeah, I'm definitely a hardback reader. Question 4, favourite book. This is such a hard question to ask a bookworm, but I was scanning through my shelves and I've picked out a book which is also an answer for a later question that I just love, and every time I read it I'm completely absorbed and drawn into it. And I have to be careful about when I pick this book up, because genuinely when I start reading it I won't want to do anything else. I will not want to get up and have to deal with adult life, and it will make me grumpy, so I kind of have to be careful when I read it. But that book is The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. I've talked about this book a lot on my channel. I will continue to talk about this book a lot on my channel and push it into people's hands because I just adore it. So it's kind of a family mystery. We've got a young woman who's working in her father's bookshop, and she receives a letter one day from a really celebrated author who is, you know, older in life. I think she's in her 60s or 70s, and she's decided that she wants to tell her life story. If that storyline sounds familiar, this book came out way before Evelyn Hugo, but if you enjoyed Evelyn Hugo, then you should definitely go and read this one. And basically that young woman, I can't remember what her name is, Margaret, goes to meet this author and to get the 13th tale from her, and it's the story of this author's life, and I love it. That's all I want to say, because you just need to go in blind and just go with it. I also really love this edition that came out, I think, in 2020. I love this cover. Yes, I've cracked the spine. It's just what happens. But yeah, I would probably say this is definitely up there in my favourite books. If you want to see other books that I love, I did do a video last year, start of this year, some point, of the 10 books that if I could only keep 10 books, I did that challenge, so I will also pop that video in the description. Okay, question 5, least favourite book. This was quite hard. When I first started doing YouTube, I used to do at the end of the year like my least favourite or most disappointing books of the year, and I stopped doing it a couple of years ago, and I always enjoy watching other people's videos, like versions of that, but one, I felt like I wanted to keep my channel as positive as possible, and also I just didn't have enough books that I'd really disliked or hated in the year for a video, because I'm really lucky that I've got really good at kind of judging my reading taste. But I was going through my unhaul pile. There's always an unhaul pile in my house, and there's this book, which is Death Comes to Pemberley by P.D. James. I read this at some point at the end of last year, and I hated this book. It was really badly written and boring and really disappointing, because it's kind of a continuation of Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. And so it says, it's the year 1803, Darcy and Elizabeth have been married for 6 years. And basically they're at Pemberley, and then a chaise appears rocking down the path from Pemberley's wild woodland. As it pulls up, Lydia Wickham, Elizabeth's younger and unreliable sister, stumbles out screaming that her husband has been murdered. So I was like, oh, this is going to be really good. It's going to be kind of a continuation of this story, and it's going to have a murder mystery in it, and it's going to be really exciting. No, it was completely dull. I don't know why it was written. It was not the one. I really didn't enjoy this book. It's not often that I'm negative on my channel, but this was just not the one. No. Okay, question 6, love triangles, yes or no? Okay, so I don't have a problem with the idea of a love triangle. However, I have a problem with the semantics of the word or the phrase love triangle, because it's never a love triangle, because a love triangle, or very rarely, a love triangle implies that everybody is in love with everybody else. So you've got person A at the top and B and C, and if it's a triangle, then the love or lust or whatever should be going all the way round. Whereas what people usually mean when they talk about love triangles is that person A, who's at the top of the triangle, is wanted or loved or whatever by persons B and C, but persons B and C don't love or want each other. That is not a triangle, that's an arrow. So that's probably a bit of an annoying, like, picky thing, but it bugs me when people talk about love triangles, because so very rarely is it actually love that is going in like round the triangle. It's an arrow. Wow, I feel better for getting that out of my brain. So no, I don't have a problem with the idea of two people wanting one other person. I think it's quite interesting. Sometimes it can be done well, most of the time it isn't, but it's not a love triangle. It's an arrow. It's an arrow. Okay, enough of that rant. The most recent book you just couldn't finish. I DNF'd 2 books in January. I'm filming this at the end of February, and I DNF'd 2 books in January. One was The Woods Are Always Watching, something about going into the woods. I just got really bored, and I actually can't remember off the top of my head what the second one was, but I will put my January wrap up in the description so that you can see. I am a big DNFer. If I am bored, or I'm not enjoying it, or if it's badly written, I will happily walk away from a book. I will usually try and give it at least 50 pages. So I kind of give it what I feel like is a good try. And if it's just not working, I will put it down and walk away. There are too many other books that need my attention for me to carry on with bad books or books that aren't working for me. Okay, a book you're currently reading. So I'm currently about 40 pages from the end of this book, and that is Ace of Spades by Farida Abike Ayemedi. I'm really hoping I've said that correctly, and I'm putting off reading the end of this book because I'm enjoying it so much. This is a book I saw loads about on Booktube last year, and I think I was gifted this for my birthday or Christmas or something. Why can't I find the gift note? Anyway, this made its way into my collection, which is very exciting, and Harry chose it for my February TBR. As I said, I'm filming at the end of February, and like I said, I've been like less than 50 pages from the end for about 2 days, and I can't bring myself to finish it because I'm enjoying it so much and I'm like right on the edge of my seat. I will finish it, so it will be in my February wrap up, and I will link that in the description if you want to see. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this, and this is Gossip Girl crossed with Get Out. So we're at a very elite academy in America, and the only 2 black students in the school are being targeted by someone calling them aces, who is releasing all of their secrets in kind of Gossip Girl type blasts, and it's about what happens. And I really think this might be a 5-star read, but it all depends on the last 50 pages, which is why I'm putting it off, because I'm too scared to keep going. But that's my current read. Okay, last book you recommended to someone. I am a booktuber, so I'm forever recommending books to people, but the last book that I recommended to somebody in my life outside of Booktube is 3 Hours by Rosamund Lupton. This is about a school shooting that takes place in England, in a school in Somerset, and we are following the 3 hours of that attack, over which that attack takes place, and you get perspectives from students inside the school, from teachers inside the school, from the shooter themselves, and from a parent whose child is inside the school. And I really don't want to say anything more than that, because it's just one that you just have to pick up and go into. I'm a teacher, I work in a secondary school in Somerset, and so this hit really close to home when I read it at the end of last year, and I recommended this to my boss at work, who is our head of faculty, and she read it and loved it, and then I've passed it also on to the head teacher, who is also an English teacher, and she's going to be apparently reading it over half term, which is when I'm filming this, so we'll see what she made of it when I get back. So yeah, this was the last book that I recommended, and I would really recommend this one, although please check content warnings because there are quite a few. Okay, where are we up to? Oldest book you've read, publication date. I probably should have checked Goodreads before I sat down for this. The Bible. I have read the Bible. I've read a lot of classics. I did a classics for beginners video, which I'll also link in the description if you want to check that out. Yeah, off the top of my head, I can't really remember. I have read a lot of classics and a lot of older books and like backlist books, so there's probably quite a few, but probably the Bible's gonna be the oldest book I've read. It was a long time ago though. Okay, newest book you've read, publication date. So I am very lucky to get sent ARCs, mostly from Book Break, in exchange for honest reviews, and I was looking through my stack upstairs, and the one that I've enjoyed the most, or one that really jumped out to me, which I read last year, was The Ophelia Girls by Jane Healey. This came out in July 2021. Really enjoyed this one. This is a dual timeline. We've got in present day, we've got a woman who is taking her family away for holiday for a few weeks of relaxation. She's going back to the family home, the dilapidated family home, and we're then also going back in time to 1973 and a summer where she, I think it's Ruth, had a summer where her and her friends became obsessed with the idea of Ophelia, who's a character from Hamlet, and kind of pre-Raphaelite paintings. And I don't really want to say any more than that. It's literary fiction. It's very much, it's got a really strong sense of place and time. You can feel the heat from the summer of 73. It's about sexuality and growing up and finding yourself. And in the, well, it's not present time, it's 1997. In the 1997 timeline, Ruth's daughter, Maeve, is the same age that she was in 73. And it's all about also Maeve kind of coming into herself and all of the stuff that goes with that. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this and I would really recommend it. I haven't seen enough people talking about it, and I thought it was a really good one, so there's that one. Okay, favourite author. So I've got so many favourite authors. I feel like this is a really hard question along with like favourite book, but the author that I've gone with is the author who appears most on my shelves, and that is Margaret Atwood. And I've talked extensively about my love for The Handmaid's Tale, but the one I picked out for this video is Oryx and Crake. It's the first in her Mad Adam trilogy, which is sci-fi trilogy, and weirdly, as someone who doesn't read sci-fi, this is probably my second favourite book of hers. Mostly just because so much of what she wrote about, and I can't remember when this came out, I think it was the 90s or early noughties, has happened since. When did this come out? 2003 this came out, is that right? Yes. Oh, here comes Molly back again to cause chaos. And there is something about Atwood's writing that I just love. I've read all of her novels. Some I loved more than others. Most of them were 4 or 5 star reads for me. There is something about the way she writes that just speaks to me, and she looks at kind of basically the human condition. And in this one, it's post-apocalyptic, and we follow Jimmy, who wakes up on a beach basically after an apocalyptic event, and he's trying to work out how he got to this point. He's the last human left alive. There are these weird creatures called Krakers who rely on him, and he's trying to work out how we got there. And yeah, I just think it's fantastically clever. It's beautifully written, and yeah, Margaret Atwood has got to be my favourite author. Okay, next question. Question 13, buying books or borrowing books? Either. I tend to buy more books than I borrow, because when I borrow books I then feel pressure to read them, and with the state of my TBR at the moment I feel like I can't be taking on more books that I feel pressure to read, so I tend to buy more than borrow, but both is great. I don't have access to a library where I live at the moment, which thanks very much to our wonderful government for that. So I don't get to borrow books in the library, but occasionally friends or family will lend me books, and that's always lovely. But yeah, I tend to buy more than I borrow. Okay, a book that you dislike that everyone else seems to love. So this is a book that I DNF'd, which was a real shocker because I absolutely loved a previous book from this author, but I got 100 pages in and I was bored senseless. And other people love this book. This is Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune, and it says on the front, his death was their beginning, and I just couldn't. I was really lucky to get an ARC. This came out in October last year, and I felt really excited to receive it. And then I sat down and tried to read it, and I couldn't connect with the main character. I didn't care. I was bored. I put it down. I don't regret it, but it's definitely a book that I've seen other people put on like their favourite books of the year, and I was like, really? And obviously everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but I was just, this was not the one for me. Okay, number 16, a book you can always reread. I'm going to go back to one of the first books that the first book I held up in this video, and that's The 13th Tale. I can always go back to this. I find something new in it every time. Absolutely love it. Read this. Take this as a recommendation from my channel. Okay, can you read, question 17, can you read while hearing music? Yes. Yep, I can read in most situations. It doesn't bother me. I wouldn't actively listen to music whilst I was reading, but if someone else has like the TV on or there's music playing, I'm absolutely fine. Not a problem. Question 18, one point of view or multiple points of view? Either. I really like both, and I think if it's done well, multiple points of view can really add texture and interest to a story. However, you have to be able to tell the voices apart without looking at chapter headings, because sometimes I'm reading a book with multiple POVs and I'm like, who is talking? And I have to check, and that's annoying. But I will read either as long as it's done well. Question 19, do you read a book in one sitting or over multiple days? Most of the time over multiple days. If I had the luxury of sitting and reading a book in one go, that's lovely. That's the dream. That's a dreamy day. But mostly it takes multiple sittings. And then the last question is, who do you tag? So what I've started doing when I'm doing tag videos is just having a look on my subscriber feed and seeing who's posted a video recently and just tagging those people. So let's have a look. I'm going to tag Jean from Jean's Bookish Thoughts, Chloe from Chloe Read Books, Mel from a book fiend named Mel, Danny from Danny's Book World, Mary from Mary Amongst Stories, Olivia Savannah from Olivia's Catastrophe, Gavin from How to Train Your Gavin, and who else has posted? Let's do one more. Let's do Kat from Brews and Reviews, because I've got a few like in my feed that are non-bookish ones. So I'm going to tag those people. If you haven't done it already and you want to, please do. If I haven't tagged you and you feel like doing this, then please do jump in and do this tag. If you've got to this point in the video, leave me the ace emoji for this book, and I'm really hoping that the ending, please let the ending be good and let it be a 5-star. But yeah, let's go for an ace. For Ace of Spades. Please subscribe if you like more of this chaos, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks everyone. Bye.